safe, comfortable. You've got time now, time to drift. So close your eyes, let the outside world fall away. There's nothing here but the hum of the ceiling fan, the silence of your room, and the city waiting for you. Because tonight, you are Michael DeSanta, and Los Santos is alive.
Your phone buzzes. Lester, he never calls for small talk. You pick up. His voice is low, urgent, familiar. I've got something. Clean. Smart. You'll like it. Come by. You close your eyes again for a second. The quiet is warm, peaceful. But deep down, you miss the rush. You grab your coat. The door clicks behind you, out into the night. Your car's waiting. Sleek. Silver. You sink into the seat and breathe in that scent. Leather and possibility. The city stretches in front of you like a glowing map. Vinewood signs blinking above the hills. Couples walking past expensive cafes. You roll the windows down. Let the wind move through your hair. You're not speeding. Not yet. Just cruising. Like old times. The radio hums beneath the engine. Some soft rock track from a decade ago. Feels right. Downtown fades into industrial gray. You pull up outside Lester's dingy place. Curtains drawn. Looks like a hermit lives there. That's because one does. You knock once. The door creaks open. He's already halfway to the back room, waving you in like this is just another day. I've been watching something, he says, tapping on a dozen screens. A bank, small, upstate, minimal security. Armored truck schedules predictable. You in? You nod before he even finishes. Because deep down, you never really got out. The planning is quiet, methodical. Blueprints, timetables, exit strategies. You listen, focused. Lester's words float around you like a puzzle fitting together. You're not nervous. You've done this. You've felt the heat. You know what it's like to count down those seconds before everything explodes. But something about this job, it feels too smooth. You tuck that thought away. And now, it begins. You drive home in silence. The skies turn to deep indigo. The streetlights blur past as you coast through Vinewood Hills. Your mind still back in Lester's office, replaying every detail, every second. You tell yourself this is just one job, one clean hit. But you already know the truth. You miss the noise. You miss the feeling. At home, everything is exactly where it always is. Amanda's door is shut. Jimmy's TV is still blaring. Tracy's light is off, probably out with friends she never introduces. You stand in the kitchen, staring at nothing, wondering how it all got so quiet. The next morning, Lester sends you a list of gear, masks, drills, unmarked vehicles. It's like flipping through an old photo album, only it smells like gasoline and gunpowder. You start making calls. First, you need a crew. Packy is still around, still wild, still solid. You find him nursing a beer behind a bowling alley in East Vinewood. He doesn't ask why you're there, just says, "You buying?" Next is Kareem, young, overconfident, but he's good with a van and doesn't scare easy. You tell them both the plan, in and out, quick, clean, no blood unless necessary. They nod, that's all you need. By nightfall, you've got everything but the masks, so you go for a drive. Downtown is still humming. You stop by a dusty costume shop tucked between two pawn stores. The guy behind the counter doesn't care who you are. He slides over a few choices. Clown, monkey, a creepy mime. You pick the clown. Because why not? You're robbing a bank, not writing a memoir. The night before the heist, you can't sleep. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling fan. It spins so slow, like time itself is dragging. You remember the first time you did this. Different town, different crew, different you. Back then, you didn't have anything to lose. Now, you've got a family, a name, a life built on lies and witness protection, but it still doesn't feel real. What feels real is tomorrow. You meet the crew before dawn. The van is parked in a lot behind a grocery store that's been closed for years. The city's still dark, no cars on the street, no pedestrians, just you, Packy, and Kareem, three ghosts in masks. Lester's voice crackles in your earpiece. You've got 7 minutes from entry to extraction. cameras go offline in 90 seconds. After that, you're on the clock. You nod, even though he can't see you, even though no one really can. The bank is a squat little thing in Blaine County. 1 floor, 2 guards, a handful of tellers. You park the van out back and walk to the front like it's nothing. Just 3 guys in cheap suits and plastic faces. No one notices, not until you pull the shotgun from your coat and yell, "Everyone down!" Screams, hands fly up. A security guard reaches for his radio. Packy knocks him out cold before he can even press the button. Kareem's already moving toward the vault. You keep your eyes on the clock. The drill is loud, deafening. It cuts through the silence like a chainsaw through steel. Kareem's sweating, Packy's cursing. You're watching the cameras, counting every second. 3 minutes left. You hear sirens in the distance. Not close. Not yet. Almost there, Kareem shouts. The vault creaks open like it's waking from a long sleep. Inside, stacks of cash, neat, crisp, unmarked. You fill the bags, 1, 2, 3, then out the back. You hit the road hard. Kareem's driving like the devil's on his tail. You duck your head, peeking through the tinted glass as cop cars flood the streets behind you. But you're not going back, not today. You lose them in a tunnel near the aqueduct. Silence returns. Lester's voice breaks through the radio, calm, almost impressed. That was clean. You just smile, because you knew it would be. You lay low for a few days after that. Golf in the morning, a movie at night. You even take Amanda to dinner. She looks at you different, like she can tell something's changed, like maybe, for once, you're not thinking about the past. But you're not thinking about the future either. You're just here. Then Franklin calls, and everything changes again. "Yo, Mike," he says. "Lamar got himself in some dumb shot again. I need a favor." You sigh, because you already know you're going to help, even if you don't want to. Franklin's good. You saw it right away. Hungry, smart, loyal. He reminds you of yourself, back when you had nothing to lose. So you get in the car, head south. He's waiting by the docks. "I appreciate it, man," Franklin says. "This one's messy. Some Vagos dealers got Lamar tied up in the scrapyard." You nod. No plan, no maps. Just 2 guns and a friend in trouble. The way it used to be. You drive out together, silent, focused. The scrapyard is dead quiet when you pull up. Then, gunfire. Franklin's out the door before you can even stop him. You follow. Cover. Fire, move. It all comes back in seconds. You feel the rhythm again, the weight of the gun, the split-second decisions. Lamar's voice cuts through the chaos. "Over here, fools." You find him in a pit, ducked behind a busted crane. "'Bout time y'all showed up," he shouts. Franklin rolls his eyes. You smile. Even now, in all this mess, it feels right. Like this is where you belong. By sunset, you're back in Vinewood. Another fire put out, another mess behind you, but something's stirring again. That itch, that pulse in your chest. You're not done, not yet.
You're sitting on your balcony that night, whiskey in hand. The city spread out like a painting below you. Neon flickers, sirens hum far away, but all you can think about is how alive you felt today. Amanda comes out, doesn't say anything at first, just leans on the railing beside you. "You okay?" she finally asks. You lie and say, "Yeah." But deep down, you know the truth. The next morning, Lester calls again. "There's something bigger coming," he says. "Government contracts, high-level stuff. You in?" You don't even hesitate. "Tell me where to be." "Good," he says. "Because we're gonna need Franklin too, and one more guy." You already know who he means. Trevor. You haven't spoken to him in years. You were dead to him, for good reason. Back then, you left him behind, let him believe you got shot in that snowy graveyard in North Yankton, watched the media call you a casualty, faked the funeral, burned every bridge. Now you're about to light a flare right in front of his face. Lester sends Franklin to check on Trevor. You wait. Days pass, then Trevor finds you. It's not a meeting, it's a storm. He shows up at your house, no warning, shirt half buttoned, eyes like fire. He doesn't knock. He kicks the door in. You, lying, son of a... You don't flinch. You knew this was coming. Amanda screams. Jimmy hides behind the couch. Trevor grabs a lamp and hurls it across the room. You let me think you were dead for 10 goddamn years. You let him rage, let him pour it out. Because he deserves it, and because you know what's coming next. Eventually, he stops, breathing heavy, shaking, then laughing like a madman. I should kill you, he says, grinning. But what fun would that be? You nod. We've got work. He squints. What kind? You tell him. He just smiles wider. The three of you meet in a dusty warehouse in La Mesa. Michael, Franklin, Trevor, a strange triangle of past, present, and chaos. Lester paces in front of a whiteboard. This isn't small time. We're talking Merriweather, FIB, offshore accounts, data drives, secrets they don't want leaking. Let me guess, Trevor says. We're stealing from the government. Lester nods. Trevor claps. I'm in. Franklin looks at you. You sure about this, man? You nod. We're not getting younger. The first step is intel. You and Trevor pose as janitors to sneak into a government lab. Mop in hand, badge clipped to your shirt, heart pounding. You crack jokes. Trevor wears his mop bucket like a hat. But when the moment comes, everything snaps into focus. You break into the server room, copy the files, get out clean. No alarms, no blood, just like old times. Next, you prep the heist. Armored cars, explosives, inside men. It's a dance. You move through the city like a phantom again, smooth, sharp, unseen. Trevor handles the muscle. Franklin gets the wheels. You make the calls. Each step feels like you're building something more than money, more than revenge. You're building meaning, a reason. The heist is set for Friday. You all gather in a hangar at the edge of Los Santos. The city skyline glows behind you. Lester runs through the plan one last time. You each know your part. In and out in 10. No casualties unless necessary. Don't get cute. You check your gear. The pistol's cold in your hand, but it feels like home. Trevor claps you on the back. Let's make some noise, Mikey. Franklin just nods. Time to make history. Helicopters roar overhead as you rappel onto the roof of the lab. Wind howls. Lights sweep the ground below. You breach the vents, crawling through steel and shadow. Inside, alarms wail. You move fast. 1 room, 2 guards. Flash drives locked in a steel case. You take them. Slide out through fire escapes and broken windows. Trevor's waiting in the chopper. Franklin drives the getaway van below. Shots ring out behind you. But you don't stop. You never do. That night, you sit by your pool. Cash in your hand, whiskey on the table, family asleep. You should feel peace, but you don't. You feel the storm coming again. Because it's never just one job, and you were never just Michael. You're something else now, something more. You wake up the next morning to a message. No name, just a number. 1 sentence. We know what you did. Your stomach sinks. You already knew the FIB wouldn't stay quiet forever. You stole from them, and not just money, secrets, skeletons they buried deep, and now they want something back. You meet Lester in a parking garage downtown. Rain hits the concrete like tiny bullets. He's already pacing when you arrive. They're going to use you, he says. You, Franklin, Trevor, pawns. Why us? Because we're good, and we're desperate. You nod. He's not wrong. Next day, 2 FIB agents in suits and fake smiles show up at your door. Nice house, one of them says. We helped pay for it, kinda. They don't ask, they command. You're doing a job for us. What kind of job? You ask. A cleaning job, the taller one says, flipping through a manila folder. Some mess over in Paleto Bay. We need guys who won't ask questions, who can shoot, who can disappear. Trevor's name is already printed on the page. Franklin's too. You feel the leash tighten. You all meet at the warehouse again. Franklin's pacing. Trevor's quiet, which is always worse than when he's yelling. They're squeezing us, you say. And and we've got no outs. Lester lays out the plan. Knock over a bank in Paleto Bay. It's cover. The real goal? Draw out a cartel informant hiding under protection. Franklin raises an eyebrow. So, we're just bait? You nod. Yeah, but bait with guns. Paleto Bay feels like another world. No noise, no traffic. Just ocean and pine trees. You put on the masks, check your ammo. Everything moves in slow motion. Franklin handles the vault. Trevor keeps the crowd under control. You wait by the door, watching for headlights on the highway. The informant shows up 5 minutes in. You grab him, toss him in the van. And that's when the cops come. Sirens scream. Bullets fly. You blast your way out through the main street. Storefronts shatter. The van takes hits. Franklin's driving like the world's ending. Trevor leans out the window, unloading on a police chopper. You duck behind the seats, shielding the informant. It's not clean. It's not quiet. But somehow, you make it out. Later that night, you sit in your living room, alone. You pour yourself a drink. Not because you want it, because it keeps the thoughts from spinning. You look out the window. The lights of Los Santos blink like warnings. You wonder if Amanda knows, if she ever did. You wonder how much longer you can lie to everyone, including yourself. A week passes, then another. Things start to settle. Then Lester calls again. There's an opportunity, he says. Biggest one yet. You almost say no, but you don't. Because this is who you are now. The Union Depository, the crown jewel, a vault beneath the heart of Los Santos, billions in gold, armed guards, cameras, security that never sleeps. Lester lays out the blueprint. Multiple entry points, inside man. We fake a transport truck, breach the vault from underneath. You'll have 6 minutes before they lock it all down. Trevor's already laughing. Franklin just shakes his head. Man, we're gonna die, huh? You look at both of them. Only if we mess it up. You spend weeks prepping, buying equipment, hiring drivers, bribing city officials, laying out fake IDs and blueprints. The night before the heist, you can't sleep. You stand in your backyard, staring up at the stars. You used to think the sky was peaceful. Now you just wonder what's waiting up there. Judgment, redemption, or just silence. The morning of the job is quiet. Too quiet. You meet Lester behind a construction site. He gives you a thumb drive, coordinates, escape routes, timers. He puts a hand on your shoulder. This one changes everything. You nod. You ready? He asks. You breathe in. Yeah. The truck rolls up to the Union Depository at noon. You're in a uniform, sunglasses, earpiece. Trevor drives. Franklin rides shotgun. 2 security guards scan your badges. The gate opens. You're in. 6 minutes. Inside, the gold is stacked like ancient treasure, shimmering, heavy, unreal. You set the charges. The vault opens with a roar. Franklin loads the carts. Trevor hums a tune, something old and off-key. You count the seconds. 45 left. You roll out just as the alarms trip. Security floods the hall. Trevor lays down, suppressing fire. You toss smoke grenades. The exit's blocked, so you do the only thing that makes sense. You go down, into the sewers, into the dark. Flashlights flicker. Gunfire echoes behind you. You run through waist-high water and rusted pipes. Your lungs burn. Franklin finds an old maintenance hatch. You climb. Above, the city's loud again, bright. You're ghosts. You disappear. Hours later, the 3 of you sit on the rooftop of a motel. The gold is hidden. The cops are scrambling. The news says it was an inside job. You all just breathe. No celebration, no cheering. Just silence. And the weight of what you've done. Again.
The rooftop goes quiet for a long while. Trevor's smoking something that smells like gasoline and regret. Franklin's leaning on the edge, watching the freeway below like it holds answers. You're just breathing. For the first time in what feels like years, there's money in the bag and no one chasing you yet. But that peace, you can already feel it cracking. A few days later, you get a call. Dave Norton, FIB. His voice is calm, too calm. We've got a situation. You rub your eyes. Of course we do. He tells you to come to the court center. Private meeting, high priority. You show up in a suit, just enough to blend in. Dave meets you near the fountains. You've stirred up too much attention, Michael. The IAA's sniffing around now, and there's someone else, a third party. You narrow your eyes. Who? He hesitates. The Chinese. They're looking for Trevor. You exhale slowly, and you think they'll come through me. Dave nods. You're the connection. Back home, the walls feel thinner. Amanda's distant. Jimmy's louder than usual. Tracy keeps staring at her phone like she's waiting for bad news. You try to be present. You sit through dinners, not at conversations. But your head's still in the vault, still in that van, racing from sirens. And Trevor, he's not helping. He's spiraling, blowing up gang hideouts, threatening real estate moguls. He's becoming a problem for everyone, even you. One night, you visit his trailer. He's passed out on the couch, TV blaring static, empty bottles scattered like trophies. You wake him up. Mike, he slurs. You ever think this is it? You raise an eyebrow. What? This life, he says, blinking. Jobs, money, running. You think it ends with us on a beach or in a grave? You say nothing, because you don't know the answer. Not anymore. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Lester calls again. We've got a final play, he says. One more job. You sit up straighter. Go on. The Union Depository wasn't the real prize. This is. The IAA and FIB are funneling off the book's gold through a freighter at the port of LS. Billions. Clean. Untouchable. Unless we intercept. Franklin's in. Trevor? Trevor doesn't answer. Not at first. A week later, the three of you meet on the edge of a cliff. Trevor's arms are crossed. He's quiet again. You lied to me, he says finally. Brad, he wasn't in jail. You close your eyes. He knows. I had to protect what was left, you say. Trevor shakes his head. You protected yourself. Franklin looks between you like he's watching an earthquake build under his feet. I don't care about Brad, Trevor continues, but you lied, and that's what hurts. But in the end, he agrees to the job, because if there's one thing you all share, it's not trust, it's need. You need the win, one last shot to get out. The final heist is unlike anything before. Ocean access, submarine support, railways and helicopters. It's less of a robbery, more of a full-blown war plan. You rehearse every step, every line of communication. One misstep, and it's over. On the night of the job, rain pours like it's trying to drown the city. You're in a wetsuit, zipping through black water. The freighter looms ahead, massive and ghostly. Trevor's in the air, circling with a chopper. Franklin's already on the deck, cutting power and planting charges. You climb up the side and feel your heartbeat in your teeth. The alarm hasn't sounded yet, but it will. And it does. Too soon. Shots ring out. Guards flood the deck. You sprint for the vault room, ducking between crates, heart pounding. Trevor's voice crackles through your headset. We've got company, Franklin shouts. I'm almost at the gold. You punch in the final override code and the vault swings open. Gold, stacked like dreams, neatly, mocking you. You load as much as you can before retreating. The boat is on fire behind you. The sea rises to swallow it whole. The escape is chaos. Boats chase you. Drones buzz overhead. One bullet nicks your shoulder and spins you sideways. But you don't stop, because this is it. Your last run, and you're going to survive it. Hours later, you all regroup in the hills north of Los Santos, covered in soot, wounded, breathing, but alive. Trevor throws his bag down. You know, he says, we should probably never see each other again. looks at both of you. So what now? Silence. Then, whatever we want. Back at your house, you sit on the patio. The sun's rising, pink and orange and too perfect. You think about all the things you've done, the people you've hurt, the chances you lost. And somehow, for the first time in years, the quiet doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like peace. You don't know how long it'll last, but it's enough. For now. Weeks pass. The gold is laundered, hidden, split. You don't ask where Trevor buried his. You don't want to know. Franklin buys a new house up in Vinewood Hills. His first real taste of peace. It's quiet there, aside from Chop barking at squirrels and paparazzi. You visit sometimes, sit on the balcony, share a drink, talk like the world didn't almost burn down around you. Trevor drifts. You get the occasional text from some no-name number, a photo of a broken jukebox, a beached boat, a goat in a suit. You assume it's him. You hope he's okay. One evening, Lester stops by. He's got a limp now. Says he tripped on a Roomba. You don't ask questions. Something bothering you? He asks. You nod, slowly. It's not the money, it's everything after. Lester looks out toward the pool. You've got a second shot, Michael. Most guys don't get that. You glance inside. Amanda's doing yoga in the living room. Tracy's on a call. Jimmy's asleep on the couch, controller still in hand. I don't want to mess it up, you say. Lester chuckles. Then don't. Simple as that. You start writing again. Scripts, scenes, half-finished thoughts. Not because you expect them to sell, just to remember what it's like, to create, to build something instead of break it. You meet Solomon Richards again. He's still got the handshake of a man who used to matter. Together, you start a new project. It's slow, clumsy, but it feels good. And somewhere in the middle of the second draft, you realize you're happy, not thrilled, not buzzing, just still. And that's enough. Franklin calls late one night. Yo, you ever think about how crazy this whole thing was? You smile, all the time. He's quiet for a second. Thanks for pulling me into it. You sit up. Most people would say the opposite. Yeah, he says, but most people ain't us. Time rolls on. Your beard grows out. You let it. You stop wearing the suits as much. Trade them for old hoodies and loafers. Amanda still calls you dramatic. You still love her for it. Tracy moves to Liberty City. Jimmy starts streaming. Somehow, people watch, and the days grow long and golden. One afternoon, you get a letter. Real paper. It's from Trevor, no return address, just one line. You were always the calm one. Don't lose that. You fold the note, slip it into your coat, and you don't tell anyone you got it. The nights are cooler now. You sit out back, glass in hand, listening to the sprinklers and crickets, and you realize something. You're still alive, not just breathing, living. And that's worth everything. You're in your backyard again. Same chair, same soft breeze brushing against your skin. The sky above Los Santos fades into that hazy purple you've come to love. Not quite night, not quite day. You sip whatever's in your glass. Doesn't matter what. It's the quiet that matters. For the first time in a long while, your hands aren't trembling. You're not looking over your shoulder. Franklin pulls up in his new truck. Hops out slow. He's older now, not by much, but you can see it. The weight in his eyes, the calm in his voice. Mind if I sit? You motion to the chair beside you. He drops down, exhales. You both sit in silence for a while. Just the wind, a distant siren, the city breathing around you. Ever miss it? he asks. You stare ahead. The skyline flickers, neon and fog. Every damn day, you say. He nods, me too. But neither of you move. You think about calling Trevor sometimes, not because you miss him, but because you need to hear him rant again, yell about aliens or conspiracies or whatever new mess he's gotten into. But the number never works. Every time it rings once and goes dead. Maybe it's better that way. Maybe he's free, out there in the desert, living in some twisted version of peace.
You finished the screenplay. Solomon loves it. You don't. But that's okay, because it's not about the story. It's about the silence after. The moment you put the pen down and realize you're not angry anymore. Another night, same backyard. Jimmy steps outside, sits across from you, hoodie up, eyes glued to his phone. Dad? You glance up. Was it all worth it? He doesn't look at you. Just keeps scrolling. You think for a moment, then you say, ask me again tomorrow. And he actually smiles. Fair. Amanda paints now. Nothing serious, just colors on canvas. You hang them anyway. One of them is of the beach, the pier, sunset behind the Ferris wheel. You remember the first time you took her there? You'd just gotten out of prison. She didn't smile then, but she smiled that night. She told you it was the first time she'd believed things could be different. And maybe they can. Maybe they are. One day, you wake up and the house is quiet. Not heavy quiet, soft quiet. Like a Sunday morning when the world hasn't kicked up yet. You walk out to the porch. The air is cool, crisp, and you feel something deep in your chest. A stillness, a peace, like maybe finally your war is over. But just as the thought settles in, your phone buzzes. A name flashes on the screen. Lester. You stare at it. Thumb hovering. You don't want to pick up. You really don't, but you always do. Michael, he says. There's one last thing. You answer, not because you want to, but because something inside you knows. You were never really done. Michael, Lester says, his voice calm but sharp. I need you to come by. Something's come up. Big. You sigh. What is it? Not over the phone. He hangs up. Of course he does. You stare at the phone for a moment. Then you stand, stretch your legs, and head inside. Amanda's in the kitchen. She's humming, painting her nails. Another meeting? You nod. She doesn't say anything more. She just gives you a look. The same one she gave you back in the day. The one that says, you don't have to do this, but I know you will. The drive to Lester's place is quiet. Los Santos feels different now. Less sharp, less angry, but the streets are still filled with the same ghosts, the same dreams. You pass Vespucci Beach. The Muscle Sands crowd is still flexing for no one. You pass the corner where you shot that commercial. The set's gone, but the memory stays. And then, finally, you're at Lester's. Same dusty blinds, same paranoid locks. You knock once. He opens the door immediately. Inside, it's exactly how you remember. Monitors stacked high, code scrolling endlessly, the soft hum of machinery in the background. Lester's thinner now, paler, but his eyes are still bright. There's a problem, he says. You sit. Of course there is. He shows you a file. Photos, blueprints. A tech firm up in Blaine County, off the grid, private security, no paper trail. I dug into them. They're building something, an AI system, one that can track anyone, anywhere, in real time. You lean back. Sounds familiar? Lester nods. It's worse than Merriweather ever was. And it's not government. It's corporate, off-book, hidden. You close your eyes for a second. You were out, but here it is. The itch, the pull, the kind of job you swore you'd never take again. I can't do this alone, Lester says. I need someone who can move without being seen. And you thought of me? You're the only one I trust. You don't answer, not right away, but you know the answer already. The planning starts that night. The job is simple on paper. Break into the facility, steal the data, get out, but nothing's ever simple, especially not in Blaine County. Especially not when the people you're stealing from know who you are. You call Franklin. He picks up after 2 rings. You back in? He asks. You don't even ask how he knew. Yeah, you say. One last ride. Franklin laughs. Ain't it always? 2 days later, you're sitting in an SUV parked outside a fence topped with barbed wire. Lester's in the back seat, tapping on a tablet. Franklin's in the passenger seat, eating chips like you're on a picnic. You're watching guards through binoculars. They got motion sensors, Franklin says. Drones too. Nothing we can't handle, you reply. But in your gut, something feels off. That night, you make the climb. Dressed in black, hood pulled low. You're slower than you used to be. Knees creak, shoulders ache. But your hands? They still remember. You disable the first camera, slip past the fence, tuck behind the shadows. The rhythm comes back. It always does. Inside, it's quiet. You move through halls filled with blinking servers and low hums. Security's tighter than expected. You duck into rooms, knock out guards, copy files onto Lester's drive. Almost there. Just one more corridor. Then you hear it. Freeze. You turn, a flashlight in your face, gun raised. You raise your hands, but Franklin's faster. A silent shot drops the guard. You exhale. Thanks. No problem, he says. Let's go. You make it out, just barely. You burn rubber out of Blaine County like the old days. Dust trailing behind you, sirens fading. Back at Lester's, the data's decrypted. He stares at it, mouth tight. It's worse than I thought. You sit down slowly. Tell me. He shows you the footage. People being tracked, watched, mapped, predicted. This isn't just surveillance, Lester says. It's control. You lean forward. You sure? He nods. Positive. You stare at the screen, and that itch, that one you hoped would go away, it burns hotter now. You thinking what I'm thinking? Franklin asks. You nod. We bury this. The next few weeks are a blur. Hiding drives, wiping servers, hacking backdoors, erasing names. You're not just stealing anymore. You're erasing the future before it can happen. And for once, it feels right. Then one day, you wake up and realize there's nothing left to do. The drive is clean. The threats are gone. And the city is still standing, still broken, still beautiful, still yours. You sit by the pool again. Drink in hand, Amanda calls from inside. Dinner's ready. You glance at your phone. No calls, no texts, just silence. And for the first time in years, you smile. Because maybe, just maybe, you made it out. You wake up later than usual. The light's already pouring in through the blinds, casting long lines across the marble floor. The air smells like citrus, Amanda's new cleaning spray, and a hint of eggs from the kitchen. It should be peaceful, but your mind doesn't settle. Because ever since Blaine County, your dreams have been different. Not nightmares, not really, but not peace either. They feel like echoes, whispers from your past that the silence now makes louder. You sit on the edge of your bed. The old burn on your left arm still stings when it rains. You rub it absently. It's a reminder, one of many, that nothing ever really leaves you. Not even the good things. Later, you head outside. Just walking. Nowhere in particular. Down past the golf course across the plaza. Los Santos still breathes like it always did. Rich with noise, with energy, with danger. But you're not looking for action. You're looking for something else, something simpler. You find yourself at the cemetery. You don't remember driving there, but your hands are on the wheel. the car idling at the curb. You step out. It's quiet. Even here, the city never quite sleeps. But the voices are softer. The breeze cooler. You walk between the rows of names. Some you know, some you tried to forget, but they're all here, resting in the earth. You stop at one grave in particular. Brad. You stand there for a long time. No words, just breathe and silence. Later at home, Jimmy asks if you want to play something. You say no. Tracy wants to show you her new dance routine. You nod, try to pay attention. Amanda asks if you're okay. You lie. You're fine. But the itch comes back. Not for violence, not for chaos, for meaning, for something more. So you call Lester again, just to talk. No jobs, no danger, just talk. But Lester knows you too well. You ever think about teaching? He asks. You laugh. Me? Teach what? He's serious. Strategy, risk, timing. You know more than most professors ever will. You think about it. You really think about it. And maybe that's how it starts. Not with guns, but with a classroom. Not with blood, but with blueprints. You start mentoring, quietly, discreetly. A few lost kids. Some of them like Franklin used to be. Sharp-eyed, fast-talking, too smart for their own good. You teach them how to think, how to move, how to survive without becoming monsters. It's slow, it's hard, but it feels right. One night, you're sitting in the back of a dingy workshop with 3 of them. You're sketching out a mock vault setup with chalk on the floor, and one of them, a girl with dyed blue hair and steady hands, asks, "Did you ever do something you regretted?" You look up, and instead of dodging it like usual, you nod. "Yeah," you say, "a few things." She doesn't push further. And you're grateful. The days pass easier now. Lester still checks in. Franklin still visits. Trevor. Well, Trevor is somewhere doing Trevor things. But you're grounded, settled, not bored, never bored, just steady. Sometimes you walk past a mirror and almost don't recognize yourself. There's less weight in your eyes, fewer ghosts riding your shoulders. But the city still remembers. Every now and then, you get a letter, a name you haven't heard in years, a whisper of an old score that still hasn't settled. You ignore most of them, but some you can't resist. You don't pick up the gun. You just offer advice. "Go at dawn," you say over the phone. "Use the north stairwell. It's blind on Mondays." You don't ask for payment, just safety, just respect. At night, you sit by the pool again. The sky above is pale with stars. The breeze rustles the trees just enough to remind you that time is still passing. You think about what's next. Maybe writing. Maybe vanishing. Maybe finally nothing.
But deep inside, you know, you'll never fully leave this life. You just change how you live it. Because once you've seen the city from the inside, once you've pulled the strings behind the curtain, you're never just a spectator again. You are Michael DeSanta. You are the storm and the silence, the legend and the man. The story most people will never hear, but always feel. It starts with a message, a plain envelope left at your gate. No name, no stamp, just your address, written in neat, almost surgical handwriting. You open it at the kitchen counter while Amanda sips her morning tea. Inside, a single piece of paper, a photo, black and white, grainy. It's a warehouse, somewhere in East Vinewood. Scrawled beneath it in red pen, "He's alive." You don't tell anyone, not Amanda, not Jimmy, not Lester, not even yourself, because that phrase doesn't mean anything, not anymore. It shouldn't mean anything. Brad is dead. You were there, but something gnaws at the back of your mind anyway. Later that day, you take the long route to Vinewood. You drive with the windows down, sunglasses on, trying to convince yourself it's just curiosity. The warehouse is still there, boarded up, Faded signs, chain link fence rusted at the seams. You sit in the car across the street and watch it for 20 minutes. Nothing. You almost leave, but then you see him. A man, limping, tall, hood up, pulling a cart full of scrap. You don't recognize him, but something in his posture feels familiar. You wait until he disappears behind the building. Then you step out of the car. It's hot, the kind of heat that clings to your shirt and fills your lungs like smoke. You scale the fence with a grunt. The inside of the warehouse smells like oil and rot. It's empty, except for one thing. A cell phone, old, burnt, but still blinking. One new message. You hesitate, then press play. A voice crackles through the speaker. Your voice, from years ago. A recording. I'm out. I've done my time. Click. Nothing else. You stare at the phone, a chill running down your spine. You don't remember recording that, but you know you did. Back home, you can't shake it. Lester comes over. You show him the phone. He frowns, adjusting his glasses. Someone's pulling strings, he says, trying to rattle you. Could be old enemies, could be the FIB, could be... You cut him off. Could be Brad. Lester stares, then quietly says, Brad's dead. You nod, but deep down, something whispers. What if he isn't? Days pass. The dreams come back. Except now, you're not the one holding the gun. You're the one running. You wake up sweating. Amanda doesn't ask anymore. She just places her hand gently on your chest. Lets the silence speak. You visit the cemetery again. Brad's stone is still there. Same name, same date. But the dirt feels disturbed. You crouch, running your fingers across the edge of the grave. Fresh fill, recent. Too recent. You don't say a word. You just get back in the car and drive. Lester's already waiting at your house. I traced the phone, he says. It pinged from grapeseed, then disappeared. You nod. You're already packing. That night the wind howls across Blaine County. You haven't been out here in years. The roads are the same, jagged and dark, broken in all the familiar places. You stop just past the old trailer park, headlights off, and stare into the desert. The stars are bright and far too quiet. You don't find Brad, but you do find something. A list, typed. 10 names. Yours is one of them. 3 already crossed out. Lester's face goes pale when you show him. Who else knows? He asks. Nobody. He nods. Let's keep it that way. It's not about Brad anymore. It's not even about the past. It's about survival. Someone's hunting, and you're back on the list. So you go back to work. Not heists, not bank jobs, cleaning up. You reach out to old contacts, buy silence, trade favors. You send Jimmy to Amanda's sister's for a vacation. You teach Tracy how to shoot. You don't sleep much. And then Trevor shows up, kicks in your front door like it's 2013 again. What did you do? You try to explain, but with Trevor, explaining only goes so far. He paces your kitchen like a caged animal. Brad's dead, he mutters. I saw him die. So did I. He stops, looks you dead in the eye. Then why is someone using his name? It's a question you can't answer. Not yet. But you're going to try. Together. You don't plan the meeting with Franklin. It just happens. You're walking through Vespucci Beach, sunglasses on, trying to look like someone who isn't being hunted. And there he is, leaning against a rusted bike rack, hoodie up, hands in his pockets. He doesn't smile, doesn't speak right away, just nods once. Lester called me. You sigh. Of course he did. You walk together, sand crunching beneath your shoes, seagulls overhead, the distant hum of traffic blending with crashing waves. Franklin finally speaks. You got enemies I should know about? You nod. always. He doesn't ask for the full story. He doesn't need it. That's the thing about Franklin. He reads people, feels their weight. You talk anyway, about Brad, the grave, the list, about how Trevor's barely holding it together. Franklin listens, then says, "If you need backup, I got you." You thank him, but deep down, you know you're pulling him into something darker than he realizes. Back home, the lights flicker. You tighten your grip on the crowbar as you move through the hallways. Amanda's gone for the weekend. Jimmy's still at his aunt's. The house is empty, except for the envelope on your pillow. Another photo. This one of you, sleeping. Lester's voice on the phone is cold. "That's not a message, Michael. That's a warning." You nod, already loading your pistol. It's time we found out who's behind this. You meet Trevor at the edge of the Alamo Sea. The sun is low, red against the water. He looks tired, more than usual. He doesn't yell, doesn't curse, just hands you a folder. "Guy in the picture," he mutters. "Saw him back in Sandy Shores, asking around." Inside the folder, documents, blueprints, surveillance maps. Whoever's behind this, they're planning something. The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. They're not after money. They're not after revenge. They're after order. This isn't some street-level gang. It's something bigger, something global. And suddenly, you're a loose end. Franklin tracks one of them to a scrapyard in Cypress Flats. The three of you go together. No masks, no backup. Just adrenaline and a trunk full of weapons. The fight isn't long, but it's loud, messy, and when the smoke clears, one of them is still breathing. You crouch beside him, press the gun gently to his chest. "Who sent you?" He coughs, blood on his lips. "Doesn't matter." You press harder. He smiles. "Your time's up." Later, at Lester's place, you find the answer, not in words, in numbers, coordinates, patterns, names hidden in data streams. An old FIB ghost program, one that should have been shut down years ago. Project Clean Sweep, targeting ex-operatives, old assets, and anyone who knew too much. You, Trevor, Franklin, even Lester. "So it's them," you say. Lester nods, pale. "Or at least, what's left of them." "You're not going to run. You've done enough running. Now, it's time to fight. But smart, quiet, the way you used to. You spend days preparing. Burner phones, disguises, backup IDs. You leave decoys, misdirects, old tricks you swore you'd never use again. You watch Amanda sleep and wonder if you'll ever see her again. You almost write a letter, but then you remember, letters leave trails. So instead, you whisper a goodbye she'll never hear. The first facility is hidden beneath a vineyard. Franklin poses as a delivery driver. You go in through the cellar. Trevor comes through the back, laughing like a drunk. You move fast, disable the cameras, crack the door codes. You don't kill anyone, you don't have to. That's the rule now. Clean, quiet, surgical. Inside it's rows of servers, files, and a map. A massive projection on the wall. Names marked in red. Yours, Trevor's, Franklin's, and dozens more. This isn't about you anymore. It never was. They're trying to wipe the board clean, rebuild the system from scratch, controlled, sanitized, without people like you. You upload a virus Lester built, burn their system down from the inside. The building goes dark. You walk out the front door, unnoticed. Smoke curling into the night sky. It's not over, but you've started something now, and there's no turning back.
The city is quieter now. Not safe, never that, but quieter. You've erased files, crashed systems, tied off loose ends. But the list Lester found? It's not complete.
There's one last name that matters, one that sits above yours, a name you swore was buried a long time ago. You drive north, past Vinewood, through the hills, to a mansion that overlooks the city like a throne. The gate is steel, the driveway curved and sleek. Inside, polished floors, empty halls, cold silence, until he steps into view. Gray suit, calm eyes, like nothing's ever touched him. "Michael," he says, "been a long time." "You don't waste time. You sent them." He shrugs. "It was cleaner that way." You clench your fists. "They tried to kill my family." He tilts his head. "They would have failed. We trained you too well." It doesn't turn into a fight. Not yet. Instead, he offers you a drink, sits across from you, and lays it all out. Clean Sweep was designed to end threats, not criminals, liabilities, people with too much knowledge, too many ghosts. He says you were never supposed to be more than a tool. You say nothing. He leans in, but you still have a choice. Walk away. Go live in the mountains. Forget all this. You leave without a word, but you don't walk away. Not anymore. You call Trevor and Franklin. One last job, not for money, for closure. The target is a private databank deep in a secure server farm in Blaine County. Inside, backups of everything, every file, every name. Erasing it means true freedom, real silence. But the place is a fortress. You'll need Lester, a getaway driver, a decoy team. You spend 2 days prepping, marking entries, scouting cameras, timing guard shifts. Trevor builds explosives, Franklin calibrates the getaway route, and you plan the entry. Not just where to go, but who you are when you do it. The night is hot, no wind, just the buzz of power lines and your heartbeat in your ears. You cut the first lock. Trevor distracts the guards. Franklin loops the cameras. You slip inside. It smells like cold metal and ozone. Rows of servers blink in the dark. You plant the drives, start the upload. It takes 90 seconds, longest minute and a half of your life. A guard enters. You don't hesitate. One shot. Clean. You leave through the tunnel. Trevor picks you up in a van. Franklin drives. You don't speak. Behind you, the facility explodes. A mushroom of fire in the distance. Erased. Gone. You all split up after that. Lester sends a final message. It's done. No more names. You feel it in your chest. Relief, not joy. Just stillness. Weeks pass. Then months. Amanda talks about moving again. Jimmy applies to college. Tracy starts writing music. Your mornings are slow, quiet, normal, almost. Sometimes you sit on the balcony with a drink in hand, staring at the city lights, and you wonder how much of yourself is still you. You wonder how many versions of yourself died along the way. But every time the past starts to stir, you remember the job, the life, the fire, and you breathe, because you're still here. One night, Trevor calls, just checking you didn't get soft on me. You laugh. Franklin sends a picture of his new car. Lester writes a single-word email, peace. You smile, close the laptop, and for the first time in years, you sleep without your gun under the pillow. Los Santos still hums, still pulses, still breathes. But tonight, you're not part of its shadows. You're just a man, a father, a survivor, and for once, that's enough.